Hey, Jose Monkey, can you find me?
You asked me to figure out where this video was recorded, so I did. Hi, I'm Jose Monkey, and I find people who ask to be found. This video wasn't too hard to find, but I had a little bit of trouble figuring out how to start my search at first. But once I figured out a strategy here, things fell into place pretty quickly. Also, I think this one's a really good example of how little details in your video can give away way more than you realize. So what can we see? This person asks to be found, and I could not help but notice that they're wearing a shirt that says Sailor Physical Therapy. I'll come back to that. By the way, I'm going to mention the name of that business several times throughout this video, but I want you to know that this is not a sponsored post and they're not paying me to do that. But if you are a business who is thinking that a Jose Monkey video would be a really great way to let people know where you're located, I couldn't agree more. We should talk. Anyway, back to the video. After this person asks to be found, they show us their surroundings, and wouldn't you know it, it's a parking lot. This particular parking lot appears to be at a park. We can see a trash can very close to where this person is standing, next to this tree. We can also see what appear to be some tennis courts over here, and we've got some rather tall lights that are probably used for illuminating sports fields at night, and it looks as if we probably have like a baseball field over here. Next we see that there's a playground here, and there's also this play area in the foreground that has this sports-themed equipment. Looks like we've got a basketball, a football, baseball bat, stuff like that. The person keeps turning the camera just to make sure that we don't miss this view of this lovely parking lot. And we can see some cars here, but no other details like license plates or things like that that might help us figure out where this is. And then they turn the camera back to the left and show us mostly the same stuff that they showed us already. At that point, I did notice that we have a sign here that looks like it has some colorful stripes on it, but we can't really read it. And that's about it. Okay, so Sailor Physical Therapy is an outpatient physical therapy clinic that has locations in 3 different states, Florida, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And I was hoping that could give me some clues about this location. But the fact that their practice is spread across 3 different states means that this wasn't going to be a slam dunk. Like if they had just one office, I would probably check near that office. Also, I had no way of knowing if this shirt was actually a clue that was related to this location at all. Would this end up being like that West Virginia University shirt that helped me find that location in episode 23? Or could it be a red herring that this person wore just to throw me off, like that person's University of Michigan shirt in episode 12? Nah, bro was coming with the misdirection. Pretty sneaky. Anyway, my point is I was not 100% convinced that the shirt was a clue. But even so, I thought that that area of the country, the southeastern United States, seemed like a pretty good bet. Specifically, I was kind of leaning toward the Carolinas, and I say that based on these trees that we see here. I think that these tall trees that we see are loblolly pines. Those trees are found in many, many places across the southeastern United States, and I feel like you see them everywhere in North and South Carolina. Okay, so maybe we're in the southeast United States, maybe one of the Carolinas, and we're at a park. Not a lot of information to go on. Now, I have to admit, I was a little puzzled at first about what these sports-themed things were in this playground. I didn't know if they were like sculptures or just things for kids to climb on or what. But I eventually realized that this was very likely a splash pad, and these were sprinklers. Yo, I love those. Splash pads have been popping up all over the place, especially in warmer parts of the country, and they're considered by many to be safer, more accessible, and more sustainable alternatives to public swimming pools. So I started searching on Google for images of sports-themed splash pads to see if my hunch was right. And sure enough, I got a few results that told me that that was very likely what we were looking at. So I just started looking for splash pads in the Carolinas and in Florida, and I found a lot of them, but none of them looked quite like what I was looking for. And after about a half hour of doing that, I decided that I was going to put this one aside and come back to it later. And when I came back to this just yesterday, I realized that there were probably way too many splash pads for me to find this without finding some other way to narrow it down. So I decided to take another look at that physical therapy business to see if that could help. Like I said, Sailor Physical Therapy is spread across multiple states. But when I looked at the list again, I noticed that while most of their locations are in Florida, only 4 were in North or South Carolina. Now, based on my hunch about those pine trees, I thought maybe I would focus on those 4 locations first. Now, I didn't expect that this splash pad was going to be right outside of a Sailor Physical Therapy clinic, but I was hoping that if I just searched for splash pads near those offices, that maybe I would find it. So that's what I did. And once again, I was surprised at how many splash pads I actually found. And at first, I didn't find anything that looked right. But when I got to the last Sailor location on the list, I saw this user-submitted photo for a splash pad in South Carolina. And that looked suspiciously like the park that we see in the video. And guys, that was it. You're at the Riverview Park Playground and Splash Pad in North Augusta, South Carolina. So it was actually a little bit tricky to confirm this location. None of the user-submitted photos for this location gave me a clear enough view that I could say for sure that this was it. I did find this photo, which I believe is the colorful sign that we see in the video. So that was encouraging. And while the 3D view and satellite views that we get in Google Maps show us something that looks suspiciously like the splash pad, the Google Street View images are actually several years old. They were taken in 2017. I was able to verify that we can see the same view of the playground that we see in the video, but it looks as if the splash pad had not even been constructed at that point. Well, that's because they didn't build that splash pad for like another 2 years in 2019. How do you know that? Well, I found this article in the Augusta Chronicle and talks all about it. And here's the best part. The photo in the article shows the same spot where the person was standing. Nice. And you know where it is? Where? Right over here, where they keep the trash. Do you always have to make that joke? It's not very nice. Man, they know I'm just playing. No disrespect intended. By the way, if you're wondering, even though I used the physical therapy locations to find this splash pad, it wasn't actually that close to the nearest location. It's actually like a 30-minute drive to the nearest sailor clinic, so it's not really that close. But speaking of places that are close, it's time to check which previous location was closest to this one. And this time, it was one of the places that you guys helped me find during the live stream I did back in August. That was also in North Augusta, and it's pretty close. It's only about 6 miles or 9 kilometers away from this spot. Guys, check out the map of all the places I've found for you so far from the videos that you've sent me. And if anybody else wants me to find them, record a video where you say, "Find me, Jose Monkey," or something like that on camera, or hold up a sign that says something similar. And don't forget to tag me in a comment on that video.